flavors and aromas around. Politics on the headlines, health, education will be discussed. Sports at 7, and then later I'll bring you lifestyle and entertainment. There's going to be a lot of dancing on the show that you don't want to miss. But in this 30 minutes, I'll be bringing you news updates, and we'll take you to the court, we'll do education, we'll do business, we'll take you to the foreign front because the coup in Niger is affecting Nigeria, food insecurity, and even likely to affect Ghana. So we'll bring you all those details on DSTV, wherever you are in Africa and the world. You can watch us on channel 278, on social media, follow our stream at GTV Ghana, Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitter, where we're streaming live. Let's start off from the courts. An Accra Circuit Court has denied bail to 4 persons accused of stealing cash and other valuables from the residence of former Sanitation Minister, Madam Cecilia Benadapa. Now, a 5th person, Sarah J., who's 30, is a lactating mother and was earlier granted bail, but remains in custody because she's unable to satisfy her bail conditions. The accused persons, 18-year-old Patience Butchie and 30-year-old Sarah J., have been charged with conspiracy to commit a crime and 5 counts of stealing. Away from the courts, the Speaker of Parliament, Mr. Alban Simana Bakbin, and some 8 members of Parliament have been honored by Mission Africa Incorporated for the outstanding fight against what they call immoral colonialism or LGBTQI+. A legal practitioner, Mr. Moses Famweni, was also recognized for his role in anti-gay activities.
Mission Africa Incorporated, in collaboration with local and international ecumenical council, were in Parliament on Tuesday to present the award Good Fight of Faith to 8 members of Parliament who sponsored the anti-LGBTQI bill, which is currently before the House. They are MP for Ningo Prampram, Mr. Sam George; MP for Whole West, Mr. Emmanuel Bezra; MP for Kwando, Ms. Dela Soa; MP for Asin North, Mr. Johnny Tim Fojo; and MP for Tamale North, Mr. Al-Hassan Suhini. The rest are MP for Krachi West, Madam Helen Adwan Toso; MP for Ladade Kutupong, Madam Ritana Odole Soa; and MP for South Dai, Mr. Roxin Nelson Dapamekbo. A legal practitioner, Mr. Moses Fo Amweni, who doubles as the Executive Secretary of the National Coalition for Proper Human Sexual Rights and Family Values, and an anti-gay rights campaigner, was also honored. The group then prayed for God's protection for all the recipients and all others who have joined the campaign.
And that fight we propose after this, let's fight to have a free technical and vocational schools in our country. We have enough resources to do that. And there should be free technical and vocational school plus a tax that will bring income to create a skilled society for our youth.
The group later called on the Speaker of Parliament, Mr. Alban Bagbin, and honored him for spearheading the bill on the promotion of proper human sexual rights and Ghanaian family values. Mr. Bagbin was grateful for the award and said Parliament is not under any pressure concerning the anti-gay bill.
There was a petition from our partners, the Christian Council, the Muslim Council, on this matter. And so I had to now send a copy of the petition to the committee. Please, this is what they said. They have looked at your proposed amendment. They think that don't remove this. Let it continue, because we are there to offer these facilities. We don't want government to take that cost. If there's any cost, we are prepared to take it. So they have to engage them and discuss. That is why the thing has, if not, we'll pass it in this meeting before we rise.
Mission Africa Incorporated is a non-profit organization based in California, USA, and Accra, Ghana.
Let's do some finances now. The Bank of Ghana, BOG, has attributed its recent loss of 60 billion Ghana cedis to the government's domestic debt exchange program, DDEP, and Cocoa Board loans. The loss, which was recorded in the institution's audited financial statement for 2022, indicates that Ghana's Apex Bank suffered losses on its holdings of government instruments, both marketable and non-marketable.
The Bank of Ghana's audited financial statement for 2022 has revealed that as of December 31st, 2022, the total liabilities of the central bank and its subsidiaries exceeded a total asset by 54.52 billion Ghana cedis. The central bank is now seeking measures to stabilize its financial position, ensure the safety of its operations moving forward. According to the central bank, the reasons for the loss is primarily due to the domestic debt exchange program, which resulted in a loss of 48.1 billion cedis, and some loans to Cote, which were impaired as a consequence of the restructuring program. These, according to the Bank of Ghana, led to the huge losses recorded in its balance sheet. The loss is a sharp contrast to the previous year, where the bank achieved a profit of 1.23 billion Ghana cedis in 2021.
BOG has holdings of marketable instruments. These instruments are instruments that BOG can go to the secondary market and trade for cash. BOG has these non-marketable instruments. The total stock of the non-marketable instrument was 64.5 billion. The haircut that we had was on the 64.5 billion. So the principal amount was slashed into half to 32. So that is actually what happened. Then the last item was the cocoa board. The cocoa board. So the cocoa board, the non-marketables, and then the marketables. The marketables, the total in there, I think it was about 16 billion, which was exchanged for new instruments with new terms and new tenors and all those things. And then we had to put that back into the balance sheet. Then issues of fair valuation and things all come in. When you put all these three things together, it then puts us at that figure of 53 or so.
Some of the cocoa board debt has existed since 1999 because at some point cocoa board was struggling and we securitized their debt, and it's been on our balance sheet and we have been managing it. But then if you decide as a country that you have to restructure your debt, what we agreed with the advisors and the ministry is that we'll put together all government debt and also quasi-government, that is cocoa board. So that is how cocoa board also came into the picture, that it's good to put all of this together and account for it.
On the issue of returns on profit, the advisor of the Bank of Ghana, Mr. Steve Opata, said the investment portfolio of the central bank from external sources are growing and hopes to improve upon its books this year and beyond.
We have net foreign assets, which means our foreign assets are more than our foreign liabilities. And also they are improving. If you look at the governor's MPC statement, we indicated to you that in the first, up to July, we've built reserves of 1 billion. So that's quite significant.
Managers of the bank say despite the challenges from the domestic debt exchange, the central bank is better placed to continue with its mandate.
When a central bank makes negative profits or the central bank has negative equity, can it continue to discharge its mandate of inflation and maintaining financial stability? If you can, then you are policy solvent. Despite the negative equity, if you're able to do these things, you are policy solvent. It's been demonstrated elsewhere. Some central banks have had negative equity sitting on their books for a very long period of time, and they've been able to achieve very low and stable inflation. They've been able to provide the necessary liquidity to the commercial banks to ensure that the economy functions. So, will we be policy solvent in the face of all these things? And I think this is the message you need to carry out. And the answer is yes, we can do that. We will continue to fight inflation. We will continue to deploy the resources we have to ensure that the financial sector remains stable.
The Bank of Ghana is, however, optimistic that the government would provide capitalization to facilitate the central bank's recovery from the losses.
More on finance. The Ministry of Finance has engaged Parliamentary Press Corps, the Institute of Financial and Economic Journalists, IFEJ, and business editors for a technical briefing on the mid-year budget review.
The session, chaired by the Chief Director, Madam Eva Mens, was held to engage the media on the technical details of the mid-year budget review.
This particular mid-year had to reflect all the commitments that we had made. And so it's of particular interest to most people, not just Ghanaians, but also to the IMF, to the investors, and all of that. Another major thing that had occurred post the budget presentation in November was the DDEP.
It also provided updates on the improvements in Ghana's macroeconomic indicators, the nation's journey to debt sustainability, and progress towards the upcoming IMF review. Madam Eva Mens said the ministry was committed to consistently engage the media as strategic partners towards nation building. She also encouraged members of the media to give non-partisan reportage about the nation's economic progress.
A little bit more on finance. Ghana Commercial Bank GCB is marking 7 decades of resilient banking with a desire to expand its presence beyond the shores of Ghana. In the years ahead, Ghana's most compliant bank, according to Moody's, will revisit its vision of becoming a pan-African bank with footprints not only in Africa but Europe. GCB will continue to explore technology, provide convenient offerings to its customers.
A Ghanaian bank built for Ghanaians and led by Ghanaians with a single purpose to economically and financially liberate local and individual businesses. What is now known as GCB PLC has metamorphosed from Bank of Gold Coast in 1953 to Ghana Commercial Bank in 1957. GCB Bank was born out of the recognition of the challenges encountered by indigenous businesses in accessing banking services from the existing colonial banks at the time. Speaking at the 70th anniversary launch of the bank, Managing Director Mr. Kofi Adomako said the bank has well embodied its vision.
We have supported state organizations like the Temarawa Refinery, the Electricity Company of Ghana, Volta River Authority, and the Ghana Water Company, and many more during times of economic uncertainty and growth. And GCB has shown great character and resilience. We have many times stepped up to the plate and intervened in the banking sector in many critical situations to help our economy plod along when it mattered.
First Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Opoku Afari, commended GCB Bank for the strides made over the past 7 decades.
Concerning safety, soundness and resilience, GCB Bank compares favorably with the banking industry's average, given its size and the level of financial intermediation. The bank's capital adequacy ratio stood at 17% as of May 2023, well above the regulatory prudential minimum of 10% and above the industry's average of 14.6%.
Minister of Finance, Mr. Ken Ofriatta, assured the bank of government's commitment to help the firm recapitalize in order to support Ghanaian businesses.
It is of little surprise that GCB Bank is rated Ghana's safest bank by Moody's, Fitch, and Standard & Poor's.
In the years ahead, GCB Bank will continue to invest in digitization, focus on the retail end of the market, with much attention on delivering value to its shareholders.
Away from finances, let's do education. The West African Examinations Council, WAEC, says all depots for the storage of confidential materials have been inspected to ensure they meet the West Africa Examination Council security requirements. At a media briefing in Accra on the conduct of this year's BECE, WASI, General and Advanced Business Certificate Examinations, the head of Public Affairs, Mr. John Kapi, says arrangements have been made with the Ghana Police Service to provide 24-hour security to the storage depots in the country. This, the Council believes, will help prevent the leakage of examination papers and ensure the smooth conduct of the exams.
The WAS for School Candidates 2023 commenced on Monday, 31st July 2023 with the visual arts project work. Total of 447,204 candidates, made up of 211,834 males and 235,370 females, drawn from 975 schools, have entered for the examination. The Basic Education Certificate Examination for School and Private Candidates 2023 will be administered from Monday, 7th to Friday, 11th August 2023 across the country. A total number of 600,714 candidates, comprising 300,323 males and 300,391 females from 18,993 participating schools entered for the examination. The general and advanced business certificate examinations are scheduled to take place from 21st August to 19 September 2023. In compliance with the Council's security regulations, question papers have been printed and packed. The question papers will be sent to fortified depots in readiness for the examination. The Council has made reasonable adjustments to make its examinations more accessible to candidates with special educational needs. These include braille papers for the visually impaired, large print papers for candidates with low vision, additional time, that is 1.5 times the time allotted to other candidates for visually impaired and hearing impaired candidates, candidates with cerebral palsy, and candidates with autism spectrum disorder. Use of computers for candidates with cerebral palsy and candidates who are visually impaired but cannot read Braille. Collaboration with the National Intelligence Bureau, NIB, and other security agencies to monitor the printing of question papers. Working closely with a number of security agencies to track and arrest dealers and operators of rogue websites. Serialization of the question papers for some subjects. Movement of question papers from strong rooms to depots in batches. Creation of additional depots for BEC and WAS for the storage of confidential material to ensure that the depots are located close to examination centers.
And on climate change issues, women are particularly susceptible to adverse effects of climate change, and it's important for their voices to be heard in all discussions and at all levels of Africa's governance structure, says President Akufo-Addo. Addressing the Africa Women and Children Conference in Accra, the president said when women are empowered through education, it has far-reaching consequences on food security and mitigating the negative effects of climate change.
No respect of persons, impacting the lives of people in the northern and southern hemispheres of the world. However, there are regions in the world reeling under the pressure of climate change, with Africa being one of the hardest hit. Reports by the UN indicate that 1 out of 4 people worldwide will live in areas with extremely limited water resources. Ethiopia and Kenya, 2 of the most drought-prone countries in the world, are likely to have children under the age of 5 malnourished if they are born during drought. And this brings into perspective the role of women in the climate discourse, and that is the focus of the Africa Women and Children Conference underway in Accra. The wife of the Vice President of Ghana, Mrs. Samira Bawumia, urged women to step forward and be heard on issues of climate change because they suffer the effect of the crisis.
This Women and Children's Conference is a powerful opportunity for us to unite, learn from each other, and craft a shared vision for a sustainable and equitable future. Together, we can make a difference.
The Deputy UN Secretary General, Madam Amina Mohammed, said amplifying the voice of women and children in the battle against climate change is the way to go. Else, expected outcomes can hardly be realized.
Africa suffers disproportionately from climate impacts, including floods, droughts, and food insecurity. Protecting the lives and livelihoods of women and children in Africa from these impacts must be a priority.
The Director General of World Trade Organization, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, said including women and children in climate dialogues and decisions will ensure that policies are more representative, fair and effective for people and the planet.
Trade can indeed, must be a part of the solution we're searching for. Though people often think that trade is part of the cause of the climate issues we face, the fact is that trade, leveraged appropriately, is also a powerful tool for climate mitigation and adaptation.
And to President Akufo-Addo, one of the ways to minimize the effect of climate change on women and children is by empowering them through education.
By recognizing and empowering women and children, we unlock the full potential of Africa's enterprise and innovation in tackling the climate practice. I would like to propose 6 concrete actions and policy interventions we must prioritize. The first, education, and awareness. Educated women and educated children are better equipped to understand climate change impacts and adopt sustainable behaviors. Investing in education and awareness campaigns ensures a more informed and engaged populace, fostering collective action towards climate goals.
The recommendations from the Accra Women and Children Conference will feed into the upcoming Africa Climate Summit to be held in Nairobi, Kenya from 4th to 5th September 2023, with driving green growth and climate finance solutions for Africa and the world as the main agenda. Edward Nyakun reporting for GBC News.
And on sanitation issues, households in the Ashaiman Newtown and Bankuman communities in the Tema and Ashaiman municipalities have been connected to a centralized sewer network. This means wastewater from homes will wash through sewer lines to a treatment plant. In Accra on Wednesday, President Akufo-Addo inaugurated the system and said the project is in furtherance of his government's ambition to reduce open defecation to the barest minimum.
The Ashaiman Sewage Network project involves the construction of a new simplified sewage network for the Ashaiman Newtown community and the rehabilitation of an existing sewage network in the Tema Development Corporation TDC quarters. Approximately 4,800 households covering over 24,000 people stand to benefit from the project. The Bankuman Simplified Sewage Project involves the laying of new collector sewer lines, rehabilitation of existing trunk sewer lines, and the construction of new sewage treatment plant to connect people in the Bankuman community. Approximately 700 households have been connected to the treatment plant as of now. Both projects fall under the Greater Accra Metropolitan Assembly Sanitation and Water Project with sponsorship from the World Bank.
This is one way of ensuring the clean environment, and once the toilet facility comes in here and we treat, we're going to have an effluent that is safe for the environment.
For Greater Accra Regional Minister, Mr. Henry Cote, urbanization and stress on existing facilities has resulted in open defecation, which leaves no dignity or privacy, and this project is anticipated to correct this situation. The Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources, Madam Frida Prempe, commended her predecessor, Madam Cecilia Dapa, for a timely and successful project.
I am happy to know that the new sewage treatment facilities would reduce the risk of these infections and enhance the living standards of beneficiary population in the Ashaiman and Bankuman communities.
President Akufo-Addo encouraged a rigorous maintenance regime to ensure sustainability.
It is expected that some 5.3 million people will benefit from these interventions when completed. Recognizing the huge resources required to provide, maintain, and sustain sanitation and water infrastructure across the country, government is in partnership with other key stakeholders and the private sector for support in providing these vital services.
The Ashaiman treatment plant will be managed by contractors on site for the next 1 year before being handed over to the Gamma Sanitation and Water Project.
Away from Ashaiman and Tema, the 37 military hospital has announced its decision to conduct a mass burial exercise for identified but unclaimed as well as unidentified bodies of the hospital's morgue on September 1. And a statement issued by the Ghana Armed Forces on Wednesday highlighted the need to address the issue as the accumulation of these bodies has caused congestion and hindered the efficiency of day-to-day operations at the facility. According to the statements, the last mass burial exercise was conducted on 11th March 2017, and the Ghana Armed Forces encouraged relatives of the unclaimed bodies to visit the Department of Anatomical Pathology of the 37 Military Hospital from Thursday, today August 3, to Thursday, 31st August 2023, to claim the bodies. National front, major cities in Niger are facing rolling blackouts following last week's coup in the West African country. Niger's electricity company says the power shortages are as a result of Nigeria cutting supplies to its northern neighbor. The West African trading bloc, ECOWAS, has imposed sanctions on Niger over the coup, but has not said if these include electricity supplies. Meanwhile, Niger's land and air borders with 5 neighboring countries involving Algeria, Burkina Faso, Libya, Mali and Chad have been reopened almost a week after they were closed in a coup that overthrew elected President Mohamed Bazoum. The reopening of the borders also comes just a few days before the end of the ultimatum to restore constitutional order demanded on Sunday by the Economic Community of West African States. And we'll bring you more updates on the coup in Niger as GBC News is following it keenly. But in Cote d'Ivoire, the nationalist former President Henry Konan Bedi, who had not excluded the possibility of a return to power even in his latter days, has died at age 89. Mr. Bedi's sudden death was announced by his party on Tuesday in Abidjan. Crowds of people have begun to gather outside his residence in the capital. Now, Mr. Bedi served as president from 1993 until 1999, when he was overthrown by the military in the country's first ever coup. Mr. Bedi's main influence on national politics had been to promote Ivoire rights, that's Ivorianness, the notion of a national identity and national economy in a country with dozens of ethnic groups. The nationalists' policy discriminated against immigrants in favor of people with 2 Ivorian parents, affecting countless workers on the country's cocoa plantations. It's time for the weather update. Frederick Kuja, favorite meteo guy, joins us on the phone lines now. Good morning, Frederick.
Good morning, Marcy.
What's a lot of energy. But on a Thursday like this, how's the weather looking like across the country?
Well, a very good morning to all viewers. So mostly cloudy weather is expected for today across the entire country, with some mist and then fog patches for this early morning over the forest and then mountainous areas. Also, some intermittent rains or drizzle are anticipated from this morning through to the afternoon hours. As the day unfolds into the afternoon, there will be some sunny periods briefly over most areas. But then we expect that from late afternoon into the evening, some isolated thunderstorms or rainfall activity will be experienced over the northern half of the country. Into tomorrow morning, more of cloudiness will be with some mist and then fog patches, and then also some very cool temperatures.
What Frederick is saying for the weather across the country. That's it for GTV Breakfast News this morning. When you log onto our website at gbcghanaonline.com. I am Altiti Saida Sadiq. I'll be back at 7 with all the juice in the sport, and I hope that the Man U fans are not screaming at each other on the pitch. One of their divas is coming right up in the kitchen today with Chef Gabi to bring you, I'm not going to attempt to mention the name of the food or the recipe, but